Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 264, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we have another wonderful show. I wanted to come back and visit this topic because we had talked a little bit about it before, kind of media that we had missed in the past, and kind of want to go back to it because I'm kind of in a different place. I got one of my white whales out of the way, Lotus.
Oh, you finally read Moby Dick.
You know what? Ironically, I have not, but I feel like I'm in the right spot to do it. You know what I mean?
I might like it more now than when I read it when I was fresh out of college, because I was super not into it at the time, except for like the story bits.
We had this discussion when we did the intro to Tolkien kind of stuff, but like like people always complain about Moby Dick nowadays because when they go into it, they really go into the nitty-gritty aspects, like very nitty-gritty aspects of whaling and the whaling industry.
Yeah. And that was originally the intent of the book. I think it was like Nathaniel Hawthorne who told Herman Melville, like, maybe you should put like an actual story on this.
It's kind of like The Jungle, if you ever read The Jungle, where it like exposes the like the inadequacies and unethical behavior of an industry. It's like whaling is awful and still is awful. And a lot of other industries are very awful.
That's true, but like in Moby Dick, I think it's just more matter of fact about whaling because Herman Melville sort of grew up like doing things on ships, so he was into it.
Sure. It's one of those kinds of things where like he just had like interest in the topic, I guess.
That's what it was, because it's like Hemingway. Like, I mean, we have our opinions about bullfighting today, but like, man, that guy was just looking for excuses to write about how fucking awesome bullfighting was. Like, in any book he'd write.
Probably without him, the sport would be dead. Because like even in Spain, they don't like it. Like
he was really, because like I've only touched upon little brief passages of Hemingway in other works, but I have read For Whom the Bell Tolls, and they make like a really big deal about it.
Like, if you talk to like a Spaniard these days, like most of them will be like, it's really just a tourist attraction. It's really cruel, and they really need to stop it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Melville himself was writing it like as a white guy who was, I think, involved with, or at least he wrote about the Spanish Civil War in like, what even was it? Like, was it the 30s or something? It was a while back.
Yeah. It was definitely like it was definitely pre-World War II. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
It was pre-World War II and post-World War I. So
what was this?
It's definitely Depression.
It was the
era.
30s. Yeah, 36 to 39 was the actual Civil War.
So perfect. Yeah, that's the right era. That's during like around the time of like Pan's Labyrinth and that kind of stuff.
But that I didn't even really think about that, but yeah.
But it's one of those things that's just like I didn't have the patience for that because it's like, hey, get to the plot. But like,
and I was reading it on a plane, so I was really like, come on,
get to the fireworks factory.
Yeah, when are they going to get to the Moby Dick?
But like that's kind of the point of the book is actually that stuff. Whereas like like Lord of the Rings is which is also one of my white whale things. Like I never.
Lord of the Rings is about the journey, whereas Moby Dick is more about man versus nature and how like you really can't just win ultimately against nature. Like, what are you gonna do?
Also, it's about obsession and like like how far are you gonna take something that is really only matters to you and nothing else. Like,
well, that was the thing. Like, even in the context of the story, the crew was aware that Ahab was crazy. Like, he's good at his job, but they're like, oh, he's a weird one, let me tell you. And they would do their job, but if for some reason somebody should sniff out some sort of hint of Moby Dick, Ahab would be like, stop, we're going that way, just immediately. And they'd be like, dude, it's stormy seas, shut up, I don't care. Like, well, okay.
One thing's for sure, we wouldn't have the classic album Play by Moby without him.
I will take your word on that.
Moby is the reason why he's called Moby is
sure.
He's actually a great grandson
of the whale.
Of the actual fictional whale.
Yeah, wow, amazing. Actually, you know what I'm reminded of, actually? Do you remember? I don't know if this was relevant to you at all, but back when we went to Rutgers, I had taken a class called Principles of Literary Study Poetry.
I took one of those.
Yeah, there's prose and there's poetry.
Yeah, I think
I forgot if I took both, but I definitely took poetry. And it's funny because I was super not into poetry, because even in high school, the teachers themselves are like, this is the obligatory poetry unit, we'll get through it. I actually ended up liking that course quite a bit, though. But I don't know if you ever had to go to this establishment, but to pick up our materials for that course, it wasn't in the standard Rutgers bookstore. It was in a little side shop called the Pequod. And the Pequod was named after the boat in Moby Dick that they were on, Captain Ahab's ship.
Did you call anybody Ishmael?
Well, the only one I would have called that was me, and that's not my name.
Oh.
Speaking of which, by the way, that's something of an iconic introduction to Moby Dick, because it's not my name is Ishmael, it's call me Ishmael. I suspect that's just his name, but there is that question, like, does he just want us to call him that? And then never pursue that?
Yeah. It also might be a quirk of, like, he's also, like, a non-native English speaker, so...
Call me Ishmael. Yeah, it reminds me of... I mean, ironically enough, this was native English, but it reminds me of the Canterbury Tales, like, Middle English, where it's like, what are you clept? For, like, what is your name? That's just how they talked.
But yeah, Lord of the Rings is one of my, ones that I wanted to go back to, and I finally have, and I'm well entrenched in Fellowship right now. I am in the middle of the visit with Tom Bombadil.
That's a very interesting part of the book, because Bombadil is just totally his own thing.
The book really what's good about it, like, in contrast, the movie doesn't address this at all. In fact, I'm almost halfway, pretty darn close to halfway through the Fellowship, and a lot of what's happened in it didn't happen in the movie.
The movie's very, very good, but you're missing a lot.
They don't even address that, Frodo and the other hobbits. What is it? Who did they meet up with first? Sam and Frodo.
Merry and Pippin.
Well, Pippin comes later. They meet up with him. With Merry. They meet up with Merry later. Okay. Right before they exit the Shire, but they meet wood elves, like, really.
Yeah, I quite like that part too. That was a really interesting part of the book, but, like, those characters don't come back, so we don't need them in the movie. But it was a really good part.
What I like about these two parts of it is it really adds to the otherworldly nature of what they're doing. Like, even though they live in Middle Earth and it's fantastical, they have so little experience outside of the Shire that the hobbits almost seem like they are us, because they are experiencing things that they thought were myths and legends, or even, like, didn't even know existed.
And the way the book's written, like, we would think that hobbits were completely mythical because they have so little to do, even with humans. Like, they're more likely to run into a human than an elf. But, like, if a human, like in the bar where they meet Strider, they're like, a big person's here? Like, what do they have to do with us?
Yeah, I mean, what's also interesting is that their biggest concerns are, like, minor squabbles at best with, like, over minor property rights and things like that. That's, like, the worst thing that ever happens to a hobbit.
Well, yeah, it's like small town. I mean, I was gonna say small town America, even though obviously it would tie more to England. But, like, there's a war going on, but, like, come on, it's somewhere else.
Yeah, small time squabbles about, like, basically bullshit. And it makes it very apparent about that. But I just like they meet Tom Bombadil, and they don't even they start going along with it and they can't help themselves.
Yeah.
It's just really it I know he did this on purpose, but he did a really good job at capturing the essence of what a myth and legend feels like when it's retold. Whereas like things all of a sudden happen and it's not always explained.
What I also like, by the way, is how powerful Tom Bombadil seems to be, but like,
and you later learn how powerful he actually is.
Yeah, but what I like, though, is like they can't leave the ring with him because he's so immune to its influences. He'd probably just like leave it somewhere without caring, and like someone else would pick it up. But what I really like
he is even more powerful than a wizard, which is
he is up there. Like there's a part where like I forgot why he did it. I think it was just to see what would happen, where Frodo puts on the ring. And immediately Tom Bombadil looks at him and he's like, oh, come on now. My eyes aren't that bad. I can still see you. There's no need to be playing tricks. And Frodo's like, what the fuck? Like it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm probably right before that moment, but
yeah, they're just hanging out in his house. Like it's not even a significant scene, but it's just like, whoa. Tom Bombadil's no joke, even though he looks like one.
Whereas the movie, despite all of its like fantasy trappings, is a lot more grounded as a result.
Well, Bombadil's really the exception. Although one thing I do want to point out, going back,
even them, they add to the ethereal tone to the book.
They do, but even outside of the ethereal tone, one thing I also like about the Wood Elf scene way earlier before Tom Bombadil, like Frodo is portrayed as this everyman, and he kind of is. Like, how is an ordinary hobbit supposed to do all this?
He's an exceptional hobbit. He's not.
That's the thing.
Hobbit.
The book pushes that a lot harder than the movie does. Frodo is like, oh no, I have this great task bestowed upon me, but like,
even he knows Elvish, which is
he knows a degree of Elvish. Yeah, like so, like even the elves are like, whoa, ho, ho, tell no secrets, friends. Here is a scholar of the old tongue, the ancient tongue.
Yeah,
like the elves are like, oh, look at this guy. How does he know any Elvish? Because like Frodo greets them like properly. It's like, yeah, Frodo's definitely different. Like Bilbo is clearly the most different, but he's been teaching Frodo, so Frodo's like noticeable among even outsiders for being a little more worldly, even though Bilbo's the actual traveler, he's not, but now he is, and he's more prepared than like Sam would be.
Oh yeah, and Sam is just like baffled by everything.
Yeah, as he should be, frankly. Yeah. Any hobbit would be, but Frodo has been told tales because Bilbo's met dwarves and elves and Smaug.
But yeah, believe it or not, I did not come into this wanting to talk about The Lord of the Rings again.
Yeah, because now we're caught up again.
We are caught up. It is a kind of a mini update to our intro to Tolkien. Though we've been kind of talking about Tolkien a lot lately because he's kind of just been in the news recently, just with Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and the Green Knight movie. But I wanted to mention one of the big TV show that I've always wanted to watch because of its influence on popular culture and particularly video games. Twin Peaks. I finally got a chance to watch it in its entirety.
I have played 2 Twin Peaks the game video games, and I haven't seen Twin Peaks. I played Alan Wake and Deadly Premonition, and I have not seen Twin Peaks.
It is worth it, and you'd be glad that you had watched it. But it will take you a while.
I vaguely know how Twin Peaks ultimately ends, and imagine my surprise when I saw that Deadly Premonition did not exactly end the same way. I don't know if you know how Deadly Premonition ends.
No, I don't, and I don't care to know it until I play it.
Not even close.
Yeah. But
if Twin Peaks ended that way, I think people would be mad. Because it'd be like the weirdest thing.
Twin Peaks also ends in a way that made everybody mad. So
that's fair enough. But like, if Twin Peaks had pulled the shit that Deadly Premonition did, with Deadly Premonition, it's something that it works better because it's a video game instead of a show.
Yeah.
But if Twin Peaks had done this, there would have been a lot of rage and a lot of amusement because other people are mad.
Well, Twin Peaks has ended 3 times. It ended its original run after 2 seasons, and then it had a movie, which of course had an ending. and then the third season, which ended. But the thing is, each time it's been like, oh, that's how you ended that, every single time. But by the third time, like, the fans were there. You know what? They were expecting like that. So by the end of the third one, people are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But even though it completely subverts your expectations, but the expectation was that he was going to do that.
That's the thing. Like, David Lynch has a real history with, like, weird endings or non-endings. So, like, it's been 25 years. You can't be mad anymore.
Well, you also, like, if you went into this after all of that and you got that and you didn't expect it, like, shame on you. Like, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. If you've been following Twin Peaks from the beginning, it's like, it's David Lynch, dude. Like, come on.
Also, if you had been watching even just the third season, which is, possible, but, like, you are... I wouldn't even know what kind of experience that would be like just watching the third season.
You know what that makes me? You know what that makes me think of? We've talked about this briefly before, but the Xenosaga trilogy on PlayStation 2,
mm-hmm.
Europe only got the second game, so that is like And by the way, the second, I don't know if you've seen these games, if you've played them or what, but like, the second game has a cold opening in the middle of a battle that you don't know what it is, and your character is talking to a new character, but, like, it's done like Half-Life 2 Episode 1, where it's like, here's this guy again, and you're like, I have no idea who this is. But, like, Europeans don't even know who the main character is to ground them. Like, they have nothing.
Well,
it's like, what is going on?
If you go in to the third season without watching the show or the movie, you won't understand. First of all, it's difficult to understand to begin with.
Yes. David Lynch's writing and stuff is bizarre. If you watch Eraserhead, that is a self-contained movie. I dare you to watch that without knowing anything about it and then to tell me what happened.
But the main antagonist of Twin Peaks as a whole, you would not even understand, they are addressed in the third movie, but barely mentioned in the movie and the show, but they are setting it up, oddly enough. And they are in the original show and the movie, but it is something that you think is a throwaway thing at the time, because it is not addressed in length or explained. So you finally... infer that's what's going on in the third one, and like, you're starting to put things together. But Twin Peaks has always just been about the vibe, and it is also one of those journeys, not the destination. And the third season, it's just like the Dark Tower. The third season makes it very apparent that it doesn't want to give you that everything that you want, and when they finally, and to subvert expectations, they do give you everything you want, and you don't like it.
Yeah. Because
it feels cheap and stupid. And then they subvert that after that. So they give you a stupid, like, wrap it all up, like, Deus Ex Machina ending, which you don't want that. You don't want everything to be resolved and wrapped up tidy in a David Lynch movie. You just don't. Because... that's not his style, and then he subverts that, which is good.
It reminds me of, I'm not going to say the name of the work, because what I'm about to talk about would be a spoiler, but Stephen King, of the millions of novels he's written, maybe billions of novels he's written, one of them literally had a Deus Ex Machina ending, and people were like, what?
Probably one of his biggest novels.
Yeah, it's one of the more famous ones. Okay, fine. So you go ahead and gave it away. Thanks.
Oops.
But, well done.
Maybe I should bleep that out.
Yeah. but in any case, like, literally, like, how do we resolve this? We don't. God comes in and says, no, don't do that. So, like, it was an interesting thing to happen, but at the same time, it also kind of sucks the threat out of the villain of that work, because it's like, well, the universe doesn't want him to win. So all right, like it can get really, really, really bad. To be fair, like you want to stop him way before it gets to that point. But the bad guy is not ultimately going to win because apparently God exists and doesn't want him to.
But in Twin Peaks: The Return, there is a character that literally says that he had a dream about God giving him a special, like, magical fist that can destroy evil, and he does.
That's great.
Like it literally is Deus Ex Machina. Like God gives him the thing that he needs to do to fix a problem, and he's a character you've never seen before. Like, and he does it.
That's great.
And he solves the problem, and you're like, oh,
you know, there
I didn't want that.
It's not to the same degree, but it reminds me of The Room, which this was a case of actors getting mad behind the scenes. I think the guy who came in was supposed to be a previous character. But do you remember at the party at the end of The Room where some new guy is like, you shouldn't be doing this to Johnny? And you're like, who the fuck are you? It was like the weirdest thing. And that guy never comes up again.
I mean, it's kind of like in The Hobbit, like, the guy who slays the dragon is just some guy that they just introduced.
Yeah, and he doesn't even have a name. He's like the Bard. Unless that is his name, but that guy just shows up.
I guess the point is that, like, Bilbo's not supposed to be doing hero stuff.
Well, yeah, you knew that Bilbo was not going to be the guy. It's like Big Trouble in Little China. Kurt Russell gets knocked unconscious and misses, like, the whole final battle.
He's not supposed to be doing hero stuff, so he isn't, but he is the hero because of his diplomacy and his thievery.
He's integral to the story, but yeah, you never thought he was going to be the one to slay the dragon. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, but I just find it funny. It's just like, oh, who did kill the dragon? Oh, this guy over here that I never.
Yeah. Oh, it was Thorin, right? No. Oh, okay. It was one of the other dwarves. It had to be. No.
It's random human.
Yeah.
In random human from the town that we last visited.
Yeah.
That we didn't mention while they were
we
there.
didn't even meet him at the time. Like, by the way, there's this guy from there. What?
When you're reading it, you're like, why did he do this? And then you're like, oh, it's because, like, having Bilbo kill the dragon would be ridiculous. Because he's not.
It really would
supposed to be.
Like, Bilbo's best chance would have been in Smaug's lair, because, like, there's a scale that was loose, and maybe you could sneak up to him and stab him. Like, that was as good it was going to get, but it didn't happen.
It is because of Bilbo that he knows where his weak spot is. So,
yes.
Bilbo is the hero, but indirectly.
Yeah, like, with Lord of the Rings, there's less of that. Like, somebody else kills, like, the Witch King, who's not the main antagonist, but, like, they ground it more than that, like, wacky shenanigans with Bilbo's story.
But yeah, Twin Peaks is absolutely a wonderful experience in its totality. There is one particular episode, I think it's episode 8, that is of the 3rd season, that is like a movie in itself. People talk about it almost to the point where, like, if you're in, like, the Twin Peaks fandom, like, like, you're tired of people talking about it. Because it's that good, but also I keep hearing about it. Like, it's just one of those things. And it also is one of those things that people talk about, like, if they don't really understand the story, but they're like, wow, that just blew my mind, and I don't even want to understand it. You know, it's like one of those things. Like, it's just like, oh, he must have been on LSD when he wrote this. You know, like, it's just like, it's one of those things that, like, people point out, like, is the best part of it, but it's not, like, out of context, it's not good either. It's not nearly as good. So it really is something that is fantastic, but also it is only a portion of what is great.
Sure.
And what is really good about it is he had so much creative control over the 3rd season compared to the movie and the 2nd season. He had even more control over it than the 1st season. He had probably the most control he had over almost anything that he's ever done.
You know what I can just hardly imagine, though? Like, just, this is something that we've just missed out on, but just imagine it's just on TV. Like Twin Peaks is just on TV, season 1. Like that's crazy.
And people loved it. Like the first season, it was a phenomenon. It wasn't even just a national phenomenon. It was a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it is it's just its style is so idiosyncratic that it's hard to ignore. And the fact that every character is a gigantic weirdo, like every single one of them is a gigantic weirdo in a completely different way, and that's influenced tons of video games, most notably the Zelda series, which you wouldn't think would be taking a gigantic influence from something like that is because Zelda is one of the most mainstream video games I can think of.
Yeah, but the townsfolk, though, like everything is normal until you talk to a townsperson.
Like going on from Link's Awakening on, like the Link's Awakening is the game that you can point to that has direct influence from Twin Peaks. Like the townspeople are a bunch of idiosyncratic weirdos, and it grows from there. Like the Bug Lady and Twilight Princess, especially.
The Bug Lady is the best.
I love the Bug Girl. She's
like
just
play that game again just to capture bugs and give them to her, and look at what she says about them. Like, oh, grasshoppers, my favorite lovely little grasshoppers. I'd love to like have your antenna like rub me or whatever. It's like the weirdest shit, and she just goes way into it, and you're like, all right, I'll take your rupees, lady.
I mean, even something as simple as like the guy in the Wind Waker who runs like the ship mini game.
I love that guy. Whenever you play Battleship, instead of saying like you miss, you hit. When you miss, he's like sploosh, and when you hit, like boom. He's super into it.
Yeah, like there are so many like Tingle. Like think about Tingle. That is a very Lynchian character.
Tingle's like a 30-something-year-old son of the
map maker,
the fairy tour guy. Well, Tingle is the map maker.
Oh yeah.
But like you're like, I'm a fairy. No, he's not.
He just thinks he is.
He sure does.
And he has several brothers that think they are too.
Yeah, and even in the Tingle video game, like on the DS, like his whole thing is just he's being conned out of money, like very obviously so. he's just a guy
floating on balloons.
Yeah, somehow he made that work despite not being a fairy.
I think he's really the only character to cross over from Majora's Mask specifically, because everybody else is a dark reflection of a character that was already in Ocarina of Time. But
yeah, Tingle's new.
Tingle is a brand new character, and he also shows up in later incarnations of Tingle.
Yeah, he's in Wind Waker, of course. Mm-hmm. He shows up. I mean, this is just a callback, but he shows up in Smash, like starting from Melee. He's got his own games.
He has a balloon fight spinoff.
Yeah, that Japan only thing. Yeah.
But yeah, I it's just, like even somebody like, the windmill person,
Yeah, the
like,
guy with his like, what do you call that? Like an organ grinder?
Yeah,
he's
just like an organ grinder. That's all he does is just like turn that faster and faster and faster.
He just when you start playing it fast, he just flips out. It's great.
But like the Mask Salesman is very Lynchian. Like
who? The Happy Mask Salesman is amazing.
Yeah.
The postal guy who just runs everywhere. The Mask Salesman's the best. Like in the beginning of Majora's Mask where he gets furious at you and you're like, oh god, his scary face is actually scary. Have you ever seen a scary face in Ocarina of Time?
No, but you have told me about it before.
Yeah, if you usually have to try to fail this, but if you can't pay him back when you've given the mask away, you go, get out! He just kicks you out of the shop.
So good. But I'm really glad that I watched it because I had a fantastic experience, and the best part is that third season. I really, really, really love it. One of the things that and I think it will really enrich my experience when I go on to watch play Deadly Premonition and then also Alan Wake. Those are like the two things on my list.
Alan Wake has the quirky characters, but like that game is really divided into like levels. Deadly Premonition really embraces the weird town with weird characters feel to it, and you yourself are quite bizarre.
Yeah. But I the thing that I really wanted to mention is that going back to is I really wanted to go back to Dexter. Um,
Oh, interesting. That's a show I did finish.
I know that a lot of people just hate that last season, especially just the way it ended.
Yeah, it's specific. Like, it's okay, but the way it ended was super dumb.
But it seems like they're just gonna throw that out in the trash.
I hope they do, because it's just like it was one of those endings that tried to play it both ways. What I recommend is season 4, especially.
Yeah, John Lithgow.
John Lithgow.
Yeah,
He is legitimately scary.
Yeah, that's what my wife says, and she wants me to watch it at least up until the Trinity killer.
Yeah, he is scary. Yeah.
So I want to. I really want to watch that, and I was watching part of the first season, which is Jeffrey Tambor. Is it?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
The first season, by the way, is as close as the show gets to the books, because there were books.
But and the books go off the rails too, from what I understand.
Yeah, I read up to the third one, and the third one is just fucking bananas. Because you know how Dexter talks about how he has like a dark passenger.
Yeah.
Like he mentions that every so often. It's like a metaphor for his like urge to kill and stuff like that. But in the third book, it's like
straight up goes into fantasy realm.
Literally a demon.
Yeah.
It's like, this is stupid.
Yeah, no. That's yeah, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do want to watch it, and I do like stuff like that. Like I do like murder mysteries and serial killer kind of stuff. So
sure. The beauty of season 4 is that there's no murder mystery. Like, it's John Lithgow, but it's all about like, what do we do about it? Even season 2 was fascinating because there's no villain. It's just people started finding a bunch of the bodies that Dexter had left behind. So the whole season is about him like
cat and mouse
trying not to be caught.
Yeah,
he's like, oh
kind
shit,
of stuff.
And he works for the cops.
He's like, the serial killer that they're trying to find. Huh?
Yeah, that was very clever, and only on season 2. It wasn't like a way later season. It's the next one. It was fantastic.
It makes sense. I mean, like, come on. Yeah. This is what I wanted to go back to, because they are coming out with a successor season, just kind of like Twin Peaks. They are giving it another try, and I am not breaking this to you. This is not the spoiler that
this is old news.
But apparently John Lithgow is returning as well. So
that is bizarre.
I did not announce that, and nor do I know how it's possible. So
I really do not know how it's possible.
But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know any of the details of what happened during season 4, nor do I want to know before.
Yeah,
I watch
it's best if you go in without knowing, because like, man, some of the stuff in that season is just like, it's great because it gets so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like John Lithgow, you very quickly learn anytime it cuts to a scene with him, you're just like, oh god, like, let us see, like his scenes are like the standout scenes in the show, but you still want them to just be over. Like, please let me out.
Yeah, they're basically torturing you by having him on screen.
Yeah, like whenever he's with like his family or whatever, you're like, oh fuck, okay. It's amazing.
But yeah, enough about my stuff, Lotus. What would you like to bring up here for this episode?
Well, this one's kind of low-hanging fruit, but I should watch Breaking Bad. I know it's amazing. I know it's the best show, and I know how it ultimately ends, but I want to see how we get to that point. Because it's just Bryan Cranston like at his peak.
That's the beauty of it, yeah. It's really the acting and the transformation of the character that is like the good part.
Especially when all you really know him as is like Hal from Malcolm in the Middle, and you see him just go full on like hardcore in this show. So I'm curious to see, like, I mean, I know he doesn't start off goofy like Hal, but still, I'm curious to see.
He kind of does. He's really bumbling in the beginning, because he is never. He is an average man who has to become a bad person in order.
I mean that's fair enough. But Hal is like wacky.
Yeah.
He's like cool dad.
Well, I mean, it's not a. It almost has a straight up comedic tone in the beginning of the first season. Honestly,
okay.
They're like one of the promotional shots is of him in his underwear, like with an exploding like RV behind him. Like there is a comedic tone to it. But the various bad like villains that he goes up against, especially since he is a villain himself, is very compelling, especially Gus Fring.
I was gonna mention Gus in particular because I've seen a clip with him. It was really funny. I saw like an article from The Onion where the headline had like Gus's actor, like Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, like there was a really funny Onion headline that said something like, oh, in this new TV show, Giancarlo Esposito shows up to show the protagonists how fucked they are, because that's just the type of character he plays. It's not just Gus.
Yeah.
Like, whenever he shows up in a TV show, you're like, oh, no.
Yeah, The Mandalorian in particular.
Mandalorian. Even in The Boys, like, he's not there to show how fucked you are, but he's still, like, even
he's a
Homelander...
presence that you don't want to see. He's not a common presence.
Yeah, even Homelander, who could extremely easily kill him, knows he shouldn't.
Yeah,
like, it's
exactly.
great. Like, and if you could keep Homelander in line, you are powerful indeed.
Yeah, no, he would be fucked if he killed him.
That's like the whole premise of season 1. It's like, what's more powerful, Superman or a megacorporation? And Giancarlo Esposito is the head of the megacorporation. Anybody could kill this guy, but no, not really, actually.
Yeah, because like killing him would start off like World War III.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. It literally would.
Yeah,
like it actually would.
Yeah. No, I said that intentionally. Like in that universe, it would.
Yeah.
So, and nobody wants a world war.
Like he told off Homelander and got away with it.
Yeah.
Nobody does that.
Like the powerful people in charge want to fuck each other over for personal gain. They don't want to be wrapped up in a war that they have to deal with.
Pretty much, yeah.
They flirt with it only to fuck with the other person, but they never
rattling their sabers. Yeah,
they never actually, unless they're just insane, which is a possibility too. But that's besides the point.
Yeah. There's certainly enough insanity to go around in that show. But regarding movies, actually, what I would like to go back to, because I've only ever seen one, is Akira Kurosawa's works, like Hidden Fortress, which inspired Star Wars. I have seen Yojimbo. I would like to see Sanjuro. I would like to see... Yeah, it's actually a sequel. I would like to... Oh, by the way, Sanjuro, I believe, is the movie that introduced, accidentally, the anime trope that continues to this day. You know, Kill Bill did it, where you slash someone and like way too much blood gushes out.
Oh yeah,
it's like because they cut a hose too deeply. It's a black and white movie, so it's just water. So it's quote blood, but it looked really good. But I want to see Sanjuro. I know you've seen this one, but I want to see Rashomon. There's a lot of really good quality stuff. That's not how I remember it. Yeah, there's a lot of really good quality stuff that Kurosawa has made that I would like to get for an entertainment perspective, because the movies are apparently just plain good, but also for a historical perspective.
They've inspired tons of things in their wake.
Especially the American like spaghetti westerns, which like they're samurai movies except with cowboys with guns. Yeah, they're samurai movies except with guns instead of swords. Like the man with no name shows up, solves some town's problem, and leaves as mysteriously as he came, and he's a big badass and just shuts everybody down. That's like,
Yojimbo.
That's Yojimbo. Yeah.
Well, that's Red Harvest actually, but
sure.
It all starts with Red Harvest, which we
Return of the Jedi. Wow, I know it's Blue Harvest. Yeah.
But also that George Lucas knew all this stuff. Based off
again, Star Wars is the Hidden Fortress. Like, I don't know the plot of that movie, but I do know that two peasants are kind of the observers of the whole movie, although they never get directly involved in it, and that's C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yeah. Well, see, R2-D2 is kind of the MacGuffin of Star Wars.
He does get more involved. It's not a one-to-one remake, but like they are the like that opening comical scene. The scene overall is not comical when the stormtroopers invade that little ship and capture Princess Leia, but like there's that one comical bit where you're looking down a hallway with lasers coming down both sides, and C-3PO and R2-D2 like slowly droid walk from one end of the hall to the other and just don't get hit, and nobody aims for them in particular because they're droids. They just walk right through it. They shuffle through it. Like, that's pretty funny.
How about the fact that if that gunner had just like destroyed that escape pod, we wouldn't have Star Wars at all.
Yeah, there's no life forms aboard, and I forgot that droids exist. Fuck it. Don't worry about it. It was probably sent off accidentally. That's the conclusion that I could draw from this. That I hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Well, like I think even Family Guy addressed it in Blue Harvest. They were just
that's very stupid.
What are you paying by the laser? Like, just shoot it.
Yeah, like, why do you think one pod went off? Like, that was really dumb. But, like, at the same time, though, just this weird little incidental chance allowed the rebels to overthrow the Empire. Even if R2 had accidentally gotten hit in that firefight, that could have easily happened.
Sure,
that would have shut the whole thing down.
Or Leia not been able to get to R2.
Well, I mean, that was deliberate, but I'm just picturing like a stray laser. They walked directly into a firefight and comically dodged it all.
Yep.
R2 could have gotten hit.
Like
even if C-3PO had gotten hit, nobody would be able to understand R2-D2.
There are plenty of things that needed to go exactly right.
Just right.
For R2 to be in Luke's possession, including that other R2 droid.
Like RD-54, I think. I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, the red one.
But yeah, the red one. What about that blue one?
Yeah.
What are you trying to push on us?
Well, the hand of God, the word of God says that it self-destructed on purpose, but I don't. That's crap.
That's obviously bullshit.
Yeah.
And the entirety of the movie Rogue One allowed even this opening scene to happen.
Exactly. But I have watched Seven Samurai, which is fan-freaking-tastic.
I would like to see that too. Which, speaking of spaghetti westerns, that became The Magnificent Seven.
Rashomon, which is the first one that I ever saw of Kurosawa's.
Sure.
And which absolutely needs to be watched because I don't think there's anything else like it before it. Just like you don't actually know what happened. You are given 3 different versions of how something happened, and you have to shrug and know that maybe even that might not be, even one of those might not be the real version.
Yeah, people can misremember. Yeah.
But I own Yojimbo and Sanjuro, and I haven't had a chance to watch them. And I do have Hidden Fortress, and I haven't had a chance to watch it. So
Yojimbo's great. Maybe we could watch them at some point.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
We
watched the Marx Brothers in MagFest.
Oh, that was great. I had a really good time.
You still need to see Night at the Opera because that one was missing.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have all 4 brothers. But Night at the Opera is their Duck Soup. That was a damn good choice. But Night at the Opera, in my opinion, is their outstanding work.
Yeah, I need to watch that. It's on my that's another one on my list. Any others for you, Lotus?
Well, I mean, you just talked about this exhaustively, but I need to see Twin Peaks.
Absolutely worth your time.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. There's gotta be other stuff. There's a million things. I don't know about anything I'm really prioritizing, but I mean, there's a ton of stuff that I just should watch that I never got around to, or just wasn't in the mood at the time.
One of the ones that I really wanted to go back to at one point was X-Files, and here's the thing.
I don't care enough anymore. Actually, you know what? Evangelion Rebuild, all of them. I've seen the series. I haven't seen the movies.
Okay. Did you watch Death and Rebirth?
I've seen the TV series and the 2 follow-up movies.
I meant End of Evangelion.
Yeah, I did see. I mean, it's been a million years, so I don't even know if I want to watch them again. But I have seen them. But I would like to see the Rebuild.
Rebuild. Like I said, the second movie is one of the best things I've ever watched.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and I say that without I don't have any pretense when I talk about anime because, like, if I just I don't care what people like. I don't I find Dragon Ball Z very boring.
I liked it at the time.
Yeah,
but
exactly. But when I go back to it, I don't like it.
Yeah, well, I've seen clips of Super, and I've liked what I've seen, but I'm still not gonna watch Super. Like I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Naruto.
I had my fun.
All the stuff that is popular, I don't give a shit about.
It's like the Ghostbusters reboot or whatever it is that's coming up. I don't care. Ghostbusters had 2 movies in the 80s. I saw them. They were all right. I moved on with my life. It's been 40 years. I know there's a 2016 one. I didn't bother with that one for the same reason. I had my fun. I don't need to dig up this corpse and make it dance.
You know what I think? I think actually Ghostbusters works better as a TV show, because you could just have a monster of the week, literally a monster of the week.
And I've seen a couple of episodes of that 80s show, and I did not grow up with this. I didn't know it existed for years.
It was good.
I saw a couple of episodes of the show. Well, it was last week we were talking about how 80s TV shows are not how we remember them. Transformers sucks. G.I. Joe was okay.
G.I. Joe and Transformers are the best of what happened back then.
Yeah, Transformers is mediocre. G.I. Joe is acceptable. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is okay. He-Man sucks.
He-Man's terrible.
I gotta say, the couple of episodes I saw of Ghostbusters were shockingly good. They were very, very good.
The first episode of Thundercats is fantastic, and then it's downhill.
I've never seen Thundercats.
Okay. Thundercats has a fantastic premise of a boy trapped in a man's body.
Okay.
And for the time, that was a radical thing. So,
sure.
Because Lion-O, his cryo sleep thing malfunctioned. So he is literally a boy trapped in developmentally a boy trapped in a man's body.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and that is a fantastic premise. Of somebody who has to be a superhero, but does not have the maturity for it.
That almost reminds me of Shazam, except he could turn the adult form off whenever he wants.
He can't. But he's trapped as a man and has to grow up. Very quickly.
Interesting.
So that is but then then it becomes Mom Ra's back again. After that. But the premise is really, really fantastic. But yeah, a lot of American 80s stuff is bad, whereas that's actually where anime starts to get really fucking good. Is in the 80s, late 70s, is when
some of them I still say Legend of the Galactic Heroes may possibly be my favorite anime of all time.
Macross is really great. The original Gundam is really great from all parties who've watched it. I haven't, but I know
these were not anime yet, but manga. Well, no, Fist of the North Star got an anime in the 80s.
Lupin the Third.
JoJo was not anime for 20 years, but JoJo was from the 80s. Berserk had to wait 10, 15 years, but it was from the 80s.
Fist of the North Star.
Well, I said Fist of the North Star.
Oh, yeah.
And that did get an anime in the 80s, which the quality is very
dubious.
But the drawing and animation are okay, but the show is quite good.
But yeah, I have to say that Ghostbusters works better as a TV show. It's just one of those things.
The movie was fun, but it was one long episode. The second movie, I still actually like the second movie, but it's definitely several steps down. That's it.
You kind of want to see them doing their ghost busting thing, not necessarily putting up with an apocalypse each time.
That's the thing. The idea that they're past their prime and nobody cares about them anymore and they have to get back into it, I don't mind. Although it's stupid that it's a couple of years.
Yeah, it's not that long,
everybody.
Much longer.
That's pretty dumb. Yeah. But the idea that there's another epic, big, oh my god, we got to get everyone to believe. They don't believe. Did they not see the first movie?
They have video evidence of it.
Yeah. I mean, even the second movie opens up with the Fratelli brothers, in the courtroom.
That's the good part of that movie.
Ghosts are a thing.
Yeah,
they're still around.
Well, it's just one of those things. Slimer's the best part of the first movie, if you ask me. I love the first. I love the whole thing, but Slimer is
he's there for like a second. He slimes Bill Murray, and they're like, that was wacky. And then
yeah, but like the whole thing leading up to it's their first big.
Oh, you were there in the apartment? Yeah.
It's their first big job is to bust Slimer. So like that's
and it doesn't work very well.
Yeah, like it's leading up to him, and then like how weird he is. It's just like one of those things. But
I just kind of liked a lot of the rest of the movie where it's just they're a bunch of schlubs and weirdos.
Yep.
Like, these are the Ghostbusters? All right.
Well, they're supposed to be janitors, they're not superheroes.
Yeah, they're just extermination guys, except it's ghosts.
Yeah. Anything else, Lotus, before we move on to fan stuff?
There's probably a bunch of stuff. I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but, like, I mean, you name it, there's probably a good chance I would like it if I saw it.
Okay. Well, fair enough. We may even revisit this topic later, because, like, it's something we can always talk about. It's like
absolutely. Yeah, what have you not seen? A lot.
Yeah, exactly. There's just too much out there.
Yep.
All right, let's go into fan stuff.
So, for fan stuff. So, this really tickled me. DR mentions, in response to, how there was a lot of video game music when the Olympics started and different countries came out. So, DR says, one of the nations should have walked out to the Resident Evil 1, like, DualShock basement theme. That like that meme track that nobody likes. It wouldn't be fitting at all. Like, and it'd be embarrassing if you were that country.
They should walk out to the Battletoads pause screen theme.
Well, that would actually be cool. But the Resident, do you remember what the Resident Evil DualShock basement theme sounds like?
No,
it's that meme song. Like, look it up. The DualShock soundtrack was done by that composer that people thought was deaf.
Oh.
And wasn't.
Yeah, that they subcontracted.
The basement theme is just a bunch of horns sounding, like, dissonant. And you're like, there's no way this is the final game. And yet, I'm playing it off the actual disc. This has to be some kind of cosmic joke. It's stupid.
Whistles
like, just
and
look
toots.
it up. It's look it up. It's very easy to find. Look it up.
Whistles and toots.
Like, what the this is a hard.
How about the Sonic Spinball options theme?
Yeah. Or now, how about the Streets of Rage 3 character select theme?
I like it, but it's also very jarring. Like,
yes.
But I didn't like it when I first heard it.
It's an acquired taste.
It's one of those things. It's kind of like drinking coffee after never having a bitter drink in your life. Like,
how about the Crazy Bus title screen?
Yeah.
It's just noise.
That's
oh, it's video game music. This is great.
That's not music.
By the way, speaking of which, kind of a late reactive consciousness point, but apparently there were going to be Nintendo tracks, but they pulled out at the last minute.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what that's all about. Also, DR also mentions, because we had talked about Return to Oz for like follow-up movies and stuff like that, the entire comment is just the Wheelers. Yeah, those things are creepy.
Aren't they kind of like the minions of the second movie of Return to Oz?
In one of the opening scenes, yes. They don't keep coming back. It's just like, ooh, that's weird. The funny thing is, as creepy as they are, and they are creepy, they actually look almost exactly like their illustrations in the book. Because if you ever read the original The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, the first book, and you look at the Wicked Witch of the West, like, she looks like some just bratty kid or something. Like, the movie version with the jet black all around, frock and the hat with the green face, that is wildly inaccurate, but it looks so much better.
It's iconic, yeah. But
the Wheelers were dead on. Like, they looked scary in the book, and they were uncomfortable in the movie. Like, because they just pull up, and they're like motorcycles, but they're like people. Like, their arms and legs like connect to the centers of each wheel.
There's kind of like an uncanny valley thing about that.
Yeah, it looks like you should be able to ride them, but they are the vehicle. Like, it's like, whoa, it's eerie.
Yeah,
and not even to mention Madame Mombi with her collection of heads. That section of the book was like, this is weird and kind of creepy, but the movie really ramped it up and made it like straight up terror. Like, it's actually, if I had seen that as a kid, that would have freaked me out.
Mm-hmm.
So Living Corpse has a couple of comments as well. You could end up like a Code Veronica remake. Oh, you could end up liking a Code Veronica remake more than the original. Look at the original Resident Evil. If a game like that came out today, it'd be a joke and never get a sequel because it's bad with the acting and the goofy music. Well, the remake with the goofy music. Then look at remake for RE1. It's night and day. That is true. Like, who knows what a remake means, especially for Resident Evil. So yeah, maybe I would love the remake. I would certainly love to see the Ashfords again.
I was going to say the Ashfords to me are some of the more iconic villains.
And I will say this, by the way, Code Veronica was on the Dreamcast. Code Veronica X was every other port.
I played the PS2 version.
Yeah, I played GameCube. Honestly, stick with the original. There was way too much Wesker fan service. I like Wesker, but like, take it down several notches. They didn't need to go into how cool Wesker is. Like, let the villain of the game be the main focus, please.
Yeah, I like that, Norman Bates kind of thing they have going on.
Yeah, like very heavy-handed. And Alfred's voice, I hope if they can get the original Alfred Ashford voice actor like 20 years later, I would love that. He's so delightfully obnoxious. Like, I am the commander of this base. Like, it's so bizarre, and his irritating laugh.
Well, it makes you really hate him. That's for sure.
But the opening scene with him, though, despite that voice, was genuinely tense. Mm-hmm. Where he's got the laser sight of his sniper rifle trained on you, or like approximately where you are, like the whole time, and he's just talking to you, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like, get this guy out of here. And Living Corpse also mentions a cheesy moment in Resident Evil 4 that I completely forgot about. It's not even like... It's almost a clever line. Just before Leon takes out like the first real boss, that village chief, he ignites fuel under his feet. Hasta luego. Like, all right. I mean,
they are in a Spanish city, so...
Yeah, cool. Good one. I love the idea of like trying to be cool and like... kind of pulling it off, maybe. Just that affected attitude.
You're clever, but you're also a dork.
Yeah, he's like almost cool. And then Dracula just mentions, Hexen I can beat and get to the Vivarium. It's really just turning on the full map to see where to go. Fair enough, that probably would help. And Gungrave was good stuff, and the Devil May Cry anime. Yeah, I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, kind of all Madhouse stuff, I think, right?
Yeah, and man, if you want to see action and fighting, you want it animated by Madhouse or Trigger.
Stuff.
Different attitudes, but spectacular on both of them. So the question now of this particular week is, what is a game that you like, but is not in a genre of games that you would typically like? Like something that I would like, for example, would be something like NBA Jam, where it's just stupid fun basketball, although I'm not really much of a sports game player, but it's more of a party game than a full-on like take this seriously, plan your moves out professional sports title. Like, this is not FIFA, this is not Madden, it's just a bunch of dumb bullshit that's just enjoyable.
Yeah, I would say also like Blitz the League. It's
NFL insane. Blitz, NHL hits.
Yeah, but Blitz the League was even like one step further. I don't know if you followed that series, but
nah.
So eventually, what happened was, they made NFL Blitz games, and then they thought that their strength was a weakness, which was that they were the arcadey games, so they tried to be more like a simulation.
Yeah, we need to be more realistic because that'll get sports fans more into it. But like, the sports fans aren't the ones playing the game. It's like just fun.
Yeah, they ended up losing their audience because of it. So they made NHL Hits and Blitz Pro back in the day, and they lost their audience by doing so. Like, nobody wanted to play the realistic ones. But right around that time, I was like, I think it was NFL 2K2. Does that sound right?
I wouldn't know. I don't follow this stuff.
But this is a significant... I don't play football games, so like this is even like this. Even I knew about this. What happened was the 2K series, which was originally started by Microsoft and then spun off to Take-Two, who owns Rockstar as well right now. They made a game that was so good that Electronic Arts started quaking in their boots, because they're the makers of Madden, which is like the biggest sports game of the year in America. And what ended up happening was a lot of people consider that to be like that particular last 2K game to be like the best football game of all time. Like it's really really good in terms of simulation. And what ended up happening was they made $20 as well to get people on board with it. To sell them a full priced one for the next year. But what EA did after that was they were like, oh shit, you're going to do that? You're going to dump goods? We're going to just lock down the NFL license. So they did, and no other game other than NFL Madden is allowed to have the actual NFL license, along with the Players Association. So along with that, what happened was that basically you can't compete with them because like having a football simulation game without real players and real teams this day and age is like foolhardy.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not what people want. They that's what they want out of it. But Midway tried an experiment where they were like, okay, well, we tried to go with simulation anyway. Why don't we go even further into like weird territory by making a series that intentionally does not have the NFL license and is just kind of bananas. So they made an ultra-violent, crazy, story-driven football game called Blitz the League. That was popular enough to get a single sequel called Blitz the League 2.
The only thing I could think of that's in any way related to this is like Blood Bowl.
Yeah, it's like that. But there's no dismemberment, but there is like bone breaking in it. Let's say that.
Jesus.
So it's not like full on like mutants and zombies running everywhere, but it's like an over exaggerated like ultra manliness to the point where it's ridiculous.
That was a thing. Do you remember that Mutant League football and hockey?
Oh sure. Yeah, that was an EA product. Speaking of,
you would cut off people's heads. That got a children's show that was shockingly violent for what it was.
Yeah, that reminds me of like Highlander, the cartoon. Like, who was that for?
Yeah, you're just cutting off people's heads.
Yeah, it's an entire series about decapitation.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that. I really like story-driven sports games because they're not very common. Like, there was also like a Spike Lee like directed 2K game, basketball game, like a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago at this point. But I have interest in playing that because it's just like, oh well, that's interesting. Like there's a story mode in this game rather than just like the normal like. Run through the season kind of stuff. So,
yeah,
that's the kind of stuff I like in terms of sports. How about you, Lotus?
Well, I'll also give a shout out to two things. One of them I'll do really quickly because we mentioned it in the past 2 podcasts, but specifically the multiplayer segments of Dead Space 3, because it's not a far cry for me to say I like a horror game, but the multiplayer stuff is ironically where I thought the game really shone or shined or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Because like normally things are scary because you're isolated, but this had very effective sanity effects that only one player would experience.
What's kind of funny is EA kind of has made a niche for themselves in the 2-player like co-op synchronous like gameplay. Like It Takes Two, was it brothers?
Tale of Two Sons.
Tale of Two Sons, and what's the other one? The one where they're trying to escape from prison.
Yeah. A Way Out.
A Way Out. Yeah. They've kind of made a niche.
That's a particular dev, but EA published it, but Dead Space was more. I guess that's Visceral too, but it feels more EA. You need the Origin thing and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it really works. I will also say
liked, Resident Evil 5 in that regard as well. By the way,
that's apparently far better than single player. I'll also mention I generally don't care for Rockstar's like Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption style games. I'm just not interested.
Sure.
Red Dead Redemption I might like more than Grand Theft Auto.
I am interested.
Because Grand Theft Auto, I mean, there's a story and you can make it to the end credits, but it's really supposed to be a sandbox. But I love LA Noire because, ironically, one of the game's detriments made it more streamlined for me because they painstakingly recreated all of this territory in LA, but the actual relevant parts are only like in a third of the map.
Yeah.
So a bunch of it is just fucking wasted. But they like it's a very grounded narrative that tries to take you from one place to another, and you do this intricate detective work, and you're not playing a Grand Theft Auto character who's just a wild and crazy lunatic.
You're actually going by the book, isn't it?
Yeah, you really have to make a point of going by the book. So I found that to be quite enjoyable. And while I have not played this, like I do not have any interest in military shooters. But if I were to try one, I think it would be Spec Ops: The Line because it's a huge subversion of that, which I missed at the time because they intentionally made the cover of the game look like Bland's generic Soldier Man. They wanted to sell it
to people that were into Call of Duty.
To fool them.
Yeah.
Like, because if they were marketed as a counterculture game, then number one, the twist would be lost, and number two, I might have tried it already. Ironically, it didn't work because it felt bland, but it hit their target. It hit their intended audience. But I might be interested in trying it just to see like just how fucked up it gets.
Yeah, because it's the whole thing is like social commentary and also commentary on the genre of video game. So
and you know what also made it effective is that there are lots of Spec Ops games.
Yeah, like, and they're all bad except for that one.
It's not like an indie dev came in. I'm gonna make it a military FPS.
It's
Where
like
do you see what happens? Like this is an established series, so you think you know what's coming, and then you don't.
Yeah, it's a subversion in a lot of different ways.
Like that's rare for like a dev to take the piss out of their own series.
Yeah.
Like I expect all the time an indie dev to make one game that does that, but like within
it was a AAA title.
The series. Yeah.
Another one that SteamWorld Heist. I've mentioned this before, and I really do like SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Dig 2, but I was really not looking forward to trying SteamWorld Heist because of the type of game it was. SteamWorld Heist is a 2D strategic tactical RPG in a lot of ways, but it turns out that but I heard it was so great, so I went back into it, and it's actually kind of like playing Worms almost. Like you have to calculate trajectory. Like there's like an action element to it. Like you need to know how your weapons work and how they function and how they arc and how to aim them. And that's like really important to how you play the game. And something about that really, really resonated with me, and I did not expect it to. It kind of felt like almost playing like an old school golf game because it's 2D. It's not like overhead or anything.
Yeah.
So but you have to calculate how can I eliminate these two bad guys? Oh, well, I have this grenade and I have these bonus moves and all this other stuff. I can do this and get a combo out of it and get an extra move out of it. It was really, really, really good, and I did not expect it to like it. I generally don't like tactical RPGs all that much. To be perfectly honest, I find a lot of them to be very dry, or at least maybe the Final Fantasy Tactics era ones. Maybe they're ones that have gotten better since then, or maybe just I don't like the Japanese style ones or whatever. But I do like Shining Force. That's like the exception. But I'm not a big Fire Emblem guy or anything like that. I've tried it and I know they're good, but it's just not my thing.
It's just not your thing.
Yeah, exactly. I know they're good and I keep giving it a try and it's still not clicking with me. So, and they also just take a long time, and like when you fuck up, you lose a lot of time. I just hate that. Yeah. I hate that. I just like I hate like thinking to myself, how do I get out of this puzzle that takes an hour to get to that point. I just hate that. So you know I do like this though, and I heartily recommend it. I think all the Steam World games that I've tried up to this point, I haven't played the newest one, the Quest, Steam World Quest, but I do like the others, and I own Quest. I just haven't had a chance to play it. Any others, Lotus?
That's probably it for now, off the top of my head.
All right. Well, we talked plenty. I do think so. Yes. That is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed comments and questions. You guys did really good with the comments, but try to leave us a question when you do. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, 5-star ratings on iTunes, and likes. Because I forgot to say likes before 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. Lotus will probably get his outro flawlessly, but I don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. We'll listen for a flub. Intentional or otherwise. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. And finally, you can find me as vysethebold on pretty much everything.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Wow, not a
flawless
single
victory.
Yeah, not a single or even a stammer. But that will be the show for this week. Thank you very much, everyone.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.